Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. So before we get into the topic of today's video within Gran Turismo 7, the gameplay you are going to be seeing is actually Race 1 highlights from my first ever NT Racing League sort of, I guess, round or season, whatever you want to call it. So do enjoy that. It will become fully edited eventually with points tables and all that good stuff. It's just going to take me a while to kind of go through all the footage and get that video put together. So let's get on to the topic of today's video, which is actually a GT7, I guess, data mine news, whatever you want to call it, leaks, all that good stuff. This comes from Nenkai on Twitter, who is very well known for kind of, going through the game and finding out what's upcoming, kind of what's ready to come into the game and all that good stuff. So on the 1st of October, he goes and posts in regards to the selling car feature. They've implemented fetching car sell dash trade prices off the server in 1.23, much like fetching the current LCD slash UCD cars. So the server support should also be done. It's pretty much completed at this point and only needs to be released. So essentially what he's saying is, the selling cars feature for Gran Turismo 7 is pretty much all but done at this point and just needs putting in their next update. So we could see selling cars features coming as soon as the next kind of mini update that we usually do get, which, the one that kind of irons out a few bugs. It could even be put there, but I think there's a higher chance that if it is going to be put in a recent update or one of the latest updates, it'll probably be put in at the end of the month, along with obviously the cars and all that good stuff that we usually do get. So it is looking like the selling cars feature could be here at literally any point in time, from now. In terms of Gran Turismo 7, it's a feature which people have been crying out for, which I believe when they had all that kind of downtime and all that really bad press when the game first released and everything pretty much went wrong, I believe they did kind of make a statement saying like, look, selling cars is coming and all this good stuff, and I believe that was way back in March. So we're in October now and it is still not here. And I think if you go onto any kind of post for Polyphony on either, the likes of Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff, any social media, you will see countless people just flooding it with wanting to sell cars. So, this is a big kind of thing, and I don't think Polyphony can hold off much longer. I feel like they know with kind of update 1.20 and update 1.23 that they've kind of just missed the ball. I'm sure at this point they've got to be thinking, okay, we've seen a decent drop off in player base, now we need to do something drastic and really just kind of knuckle down and get GT7 in a proper state, or exactly where we where it should be, where most players do want it to be. Then I guess you could turn around and say, look, if you check the store page for Gran Turismo 7, it does actually state that you can sell cars in this game. You can buy and sell your way through a career mode. For starters, there's not much career mode there, let's be honest, but that is just blatant kind of, I guess, misleading advertising. It's a feature that's not available in the game, so it really does baffle me that why has this been up since March in the description of the game. So you could have people that have, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but maybe never played a Gran Turismo or heard of Gran Turismo, and this might be their first kind of, I guess, read up of the game. They might be wanting to buy it and they think, oh cool, I can buy and sell my cars on my way through career mode. They jump on the game and it's just a feature that's not there. So for me, that is really shady how they've got along, I guess, away with it for such a long time. But according to Nenkai, it is coming, so it just literally needs to be, activated in the game. They've got all the economy side sorted. Now, for me personally, I'm not overly bothered by it. For me, it's a car collection game, and if you know anything about previous Gran Turismo's prize cars, you won't get any money for. You will essentially just kind of get rid of them for free. In terms of selling those cars that you might have or might have bought that you just don't use, you will probably get around about, I'm going to probably assume about 10 to 20% of your money paid actually back. I'm going to assume it's not going to be much, and I feel like people are going to have far too high expectations to what actually selling cars does, and I feel like we're going to have a whole more complaints where people are going to turn around and say, look, you know, yes, you put this feature in the game, but the selling cars, it's, you know, it's not enough. It's just going to cause a whole other, I guess, ruckus. I can see it coming. Hopefully not. You know, at the end of the day, the economy kind of works like that because that's just the way it is. It's not a big deal. It's kind of like that for most games. I know people will just probably turn around and blame the microtransactions, but if you look at how most in-game economies work, when you kind of just sell off cars for a kind of set price or whatever, it's usually not too much anyway. I mean, you only have to go and look at the likes of, you know, GTA Online to see, you know, you can put 4 million out on a car and probably get 400k back. So, you know, that's to be expected in my opinion. Some other news, he does say some more noteworthy changes, and the first one is, seems like they've been toying with more VR. Some scattered tests were added internally, most notably a showroom, perhaps PSVR 2 plans. So it is looking like Polyphony are toying with the idea of getting PSVR 2 implemented into this game, which again is another thing that people have been absolutely crying out for. I don't know how far into this kind of development it is. Nenkai does not say. So it's just looking like there's just a few tests for now, but it is looking like in the long term they will be wanting to get, you know, PSVR 2 implemented into the game. So that is awesome to see, especially for those people that, you know, really do love VR. For me, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is really immersive. It's nice to kind of just try it out now and again. It's not a kind of make or break feature for me. But it is definitely something that's kind of awesome to just kind of, I guess, sit back and experience. So hopefully Polyphony does implement PSVR 2 into GT7, as you know, at some point within, I'm going to say the next year, maybe 2 years. Another little announcement is that they've implemented a kiosk mode from GT5-GT6. This is intended for test gameplay at Expo, so it's looking like maybe in the future, if they have some big updates or some stuff, they might go to these expos, maybe show some new cars off. From what I can see at the minute, is just a kind of a set car list. So who knows, they could be maybe something to showcase off, possibly over the, you know, maybe next year or something like that. But there is a kiosk mode that they've re-implemented back into the game for test play, so who knows what that's all about. It could be something major, it could just be, you know, maybe something just to kind of brush over if they want to just go and show off GT7, but at that point I'm going to assume it would be probably a year or two old, so it would be a bit strange to just have the, I guess, vanilla or day one kind of gameplay put in there. And then the last two that I want to touch on, he says, this was around about 3 or 4 days ago at this point, he says some beloved GT cars seem to be in the works now. There may be a new VGT coming as well from a brand that doesn't have one yet. Now, I know that most people really don't like VGTs, however, if it's from a brand that does not have one yet, to me that is pretty exciting news, and it's actually very much rumoured that it could be possibly Alfa Romeo. A lot of people are pointing towards that because they had one due to release in Gran Turismo 6 and it never came to be. Obviously they do not have one currently, so this may be a good chance to see another Alfa Romeo in the game. Hopefully it's kind of close to, you know, something we could see within the next couple of years. For me that would be absolutely perfect, but who knows. I'm going to, you know, just assume that most people won't like the VGT, but at the end of the day, if it's a brand that hasn't got one, I'm much more excited to see it than I was, you know, the likes of the Porsche VGT Spider, which we got in update 1.23, which in my opinion was terrible. So hopefully it's kind of close to real life and not some ridiculously overpowered rocket car. You know, I feel like we've got enough of them in the game. I just want something that's going to be, you know, as close to, you know, I guess within the next couple of years kind of release date as possible. So that would be absolutely awesome to see, especially from a manufacturer which does not have a VGT car. And then in terms of legendary cars returning to GT7, this kind of, it's not very specific at all. There's a ton of cars they could pick through, but he's obviously, you know, Nenkai's obviously seen what's kind of in the works, so I'm going to assume it's going to be some really kind of noteworthy cars from past GT games. If you haven't noticed, when we get an update, we usually have a star car, so we have the likes of, you know, the Pikes Peak, then we have obviously the IDR in the most recent update, the McLaren MP44. But if this is a returning car from a previous GT GT game, those, you know, that could be countless cars, because there's a lot of cars I regard very highly in terms of, you know, how they were in previous GT games. So that is really exciting. I'm hoping that, like I said, I've said this previously, they can up that number from 3 cars a month. I remember when GT Sport first came out, we was getting like 10 cars per update. So I'd rather wait longer for my updates and get more cars and, you know, more tracks, more features. So hopefully they do, you know, maybe go down that route. Who knows? So yeah, it's quite exciting news to be, you know, the potential of some legendary cars from, you know, maybe Gran Turismo 2, Gran Turismo 4 returning. And then the last note is Sophie continues to be worked on as a set of missions. So that's looking like a test for Sophie. I feel like that is a decent way to implement it originally in a bunch of missions, see how it goes, and keep, you know, to continue working on it with feedback from the community to hopefully get it fully implemented in the game within, you know, at least a year, maybe 2 years. So if it does work well in those missions, you know, that is definitely something that's going to be awesome to, you know, have the AI overhaul, because let's be honest, they're absolutely terrible currently anyway. So that is going to be it for today's video. I just thought I'd kind of, you know, go over with you some of the big kind of data mines, leaks, news for Gran Turismo 7. So it is looking like, you know, selling cars is coming. It's looking like we've got a bunch of legendary GT cars coming from previous games. Looks like we've got a original VGT for the first time in what feels like forever. Obviously Sophie's continued to be worked on, and even PSVR 2 support. So it is looking like maybe Polyphony is in this for the long term, and maybe they are starting to listen to what their player base wants. So who knows? We can only hope and pray, I guess, at this point. Well, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Turn those notifications on so you don't miss an upload from me. Donation links are in the description down below, and I will see you all later on.